we need to release this not to help victims. They wanted to get Trump, right? And now he's largely been vindicated. And these same Democrats are running around saying that basically Trump is hiding it. The DOJ has covered it up. And Pam Bondi is going to testify soon.
Lauren Boebert is one of the most interesting members of Congress right now, to say the least. Donald Trump is attacking her and trying to get her to lose her seat, while she seemingly stays a Trump loyalist. Boebert, of course, put her name on the discharge petition to get the release of the Epstein files, and ever since has been a little flip-floppy on whether or not she wants more justice and more accountability. But as Donald Trump continues to raise the stakes of his attacks on Boebert, Lauren has made her most definitive statement yet on what she wants to see come out of the Epstein files, in a bombshell that should have Donald Trump scared and maybe stopping those attacks that he has launched on Lauren Boebert. We are going to get into it all, but before we do, if I could quickly ask you to leave a like on this video, and if you haven't already and you enjoy our channel, to hit that subscribe button because it goes a long way in supporting our work. Now we are going to get into what she said and what it means for the Epstein files going forward, especially in the wake of the non-hearing Pam Bondi just gave. But I want to start with what Lauren Boebert previously said about Epstein before Trump started attacking her, because it really puts a little bit of light on why this is so crazy.
Democrat colleagues, many of them said, we need to release this not to help victims. They wanted to get Trump, right? And now he's largely been vindicated. And these same Democrats are running around saying that basically Trump is hiding it. The DOJ has covered it up, and Pam Bondi is going to testify soon. And we're going to get him. We're going to get him. Are you enabling those Democrats? What do you want to ask Pam? What do you want Pam Bondi to say? Because do you believe the Democrats that the DOJ is hiding something to protect the president? Because some of his supporters think you're enabling them.
No, I don't. And I'm really not too concerned about what Pam Bondi has to say at this time. She is no longer our Attorney General, and we are working through the files that we received. I'm proud to have taken that vote. There was a lot of pressure to not take that vote. But once it came to the floor, it was really the pressure of the voters that members of Congress listened to the most. We had every member of the House of Representatives, except for one, vote to pass that. It passed the Senate by unanimous consent and was signed into law by the president almost immediately. And so nothing happens in D.C. without force. And I believed all along that the president would be vindicated, and he is not implicated in these files. And I stand by that. We made campaign promises, and I'm going to keep promises that I made. And that's why I was there to force the release of those files.
So that was from a couple of weeks ago, before Donald Trump really started this hardcore campaign against Lauren Boebert. And he did so because of her support for Thomas Massie. Lauren Boebert, alongside Marjorie Taylor Greene, actually traveled to Massie's district. She talked about the influence of the dark money coming from the Israel lobby on his race. Of course, she talked about the important work they did together alongside Marjorie Taylor Greene, Ro Khanna, and every Democrat in Congress to get the release of the Epstein files. But she wasn't really taking shots at Donald Trump. She was just being supportive of her friends. And how did Donald Trump take that? Not too well. Kyle Clark of the Denver Reporter, incredible broadcaster, gave a great breakdown of all the different ways that Donald Trump has attacked Boebert. I want to take a look at that, as well as the latest post he made, before we get to what she most recently said, a flip-flop now on the files.
One by one, Colorado's Republicans in Congress are learning that President Trump demands complete and total allegiance. No exceptions. Congresswoman Lauren Boebert, long considered one of Trump's closest allies, is the latest Republican to lose the presidential endorsement for perceived disloyalty. This weekend, President Trump took to social media to ask someone, anyone, to run against Boebert in June's GOP primary, saying, quote, "Is anyone interested in running against weak-minded Lauren Boebert in Colorado's 4th Congressional District? Just let me know or announce your candidacy, and I will be there for you." Boebert committed the cardinal sin of campaigning for another Republican who disagreed with Trump, Kentucky's Thomas Massie. Massie's staunchly conservative, but he's broken with Trump on some major legislation, and he helped to force the release of the Epstein files along with Boebert. She says she, quote, knew the risks when she agreed to stand by her friend. She said she still supports the president's agenda. Here's the thing, though. Despite Trump's call, it's actually too late for a challenger to take on Boebert in next month's Republican primary. You would even need to have an organized write-in campaign registered with the state by now. Who knows, right? Maybe Trump's going to come back to Boebert. Give it a couple of months.
And with all of that, Donald Trump also posted last night his latest attack on Lauren Boebert. Patriot, a Midas Touch associated account, wrote, "Trump attacks Lauren Boebert, others as losers." Of course, we know Boebert pushed for the release of the Epstein files. There's Massie, there's Marjorie Taylor Greene, Candace Owens, Tucker Carlson, Rand Paul, and Lauren Boebert. Trump said, "Get in, loser, we're going losing." So, this has been a pretty targeted campaign from Donald Trump, to say the least. going after Lauren Boebert, saying that he wants her to be primary, saying that he wants her out of office, saying that she's low IQ, that she's a hack. And actually she responded to that in a clip that is going to blow your mind. Some of the craziest shit I've ever seen. We're going to get to it in a little bit. But this is all again, not because of the Epstein files, but because of Massie. And of course Massie has so much to do with the release of the Epstein files that in that way it is. But Boebert hasn't been going after Trump on that, until yesterday when she made the most definitive bombshell statement on the files yet. Congresswoman Lauren Boebert aims to make sure Trump, in her words, keeps his promises regarding the Epstein files, of which we know there are still 3 million that have been redacted and held from the public. The efforts by Lauren Boebert to expose the Epstein files have put her in Donald Trump's crosshairs. Former Attorney General Pam Bondi testified behind closed doors on Friday about convicted offender Jeffrey Epstein. Members of the U.S. House Committee on Oversight and Government Reform, including Boebert, who represents Colorado's 4th Congressional District, voted to subpoena Bondi before the president fired her last month. Boebert is among those leading the push for accountability, and she has paid a political price for that. The Congresswoman is one of only 4 Republicans who signed a petition last year to force the release of the Epstein files, which Donald Trump initially tried to block but eventually signed, resulting in the release of 3 million pages of documents, although there are still more that need to be released. Bondi told the House Oversight Committee on Friday that while there were redaction errors, to say the least, the department produced everything required under the law. Boebert though told CBS Colorado she doesn't think that's the case. She thinks Boebert thinks that Bondi is lying and that there are more files out there. Why is the president so determined not to let this information out? A reporter with CBS Colorado asked Lauren Boebert. I don't have that answer. Lauren, it's pretty obvious, but she continued. I am going to ensure that President Trump keeps his promises, Boebert said. So that is the most definitive statement we have from Lauren Boebert on the files. I would also say it is quite interesting considering if we go back to when Donald Trump was fighting the release of the Epstein files, fighting against that discharge petition. When Mike Johnson had shut down the government and the pressure campaign was on, Lauren Boebert was brought into the Situation Room, right into the most secure place on the planet, and she was given information from Pam Bondi and Kash Patel. Maybe there was someone else there, but we don't know what that info was. We don't know if it was files, we don't know if it was damaging information about Donald Trump. But if Lauren Boebert got those secrets and is saying that the full files haven't been released, she might have seen something that hadn't been released, which makes it all the much more crazy that Lauren Boebert has such cognitive dissonance. And a man attacking her for what Marjorie Taylor Greene said would be hurting his friends and exposing his own crimes, his own corruption, and his own sick behavior. Can't articulate the truth that Donald Trump doesn't want the files released because Donald Trump is the files. His administration is the files. Todd Blanche, RFK Jr., this is the Epstein administration, right? Don't even get me started on Howard Lutnick. This is the Epstein administration. But Lauren Boebert is making one thing very clear. There still are many more Epstein files, and she wants them released, and she is going to push for them. And that is why Donald Trump continues to attack her. But Boebert again, the cognitive dissonance, doesn't see it as that. I don't know how, but this was one of the more wild videos I've ever seen.
Now here we are, 7 years later, and Donald Trump is threatening to endorse a primary challenger against you. Life comes at you fast. Huh?
It does, yes. A lot has changed over the years. My support for the president has not changed.
President Trump never just disagrees with people, right? He has to disagree and insult people.
Yes.
President Trump called you dumb. If one of my friends called me dumb, that would bother me. Did it bother you?
Well, I think it was low IQ.
He used the word dumb.
Did he use dumb? Yeah. Well, I mean, that usually...
He said weak-minded and
Weak-minded, that's right. I mean, he could have thrown in there that I only have a GED, and that would have been okay and completely factual. But I'm still going to continue to support him and the promises he and I have both made on campaign trails to ensure that we keep those promises.
Why are you and other Republicans willing to take so much abuse from him?
Interesting. I don't see it as abuse. I think it's part of the DC nature. Nothing happens in DC without force.
Lauren Boebert is in an abusive relationship with the President of the United States. For her to be cheering on Trump, calling her stupid, low IQ, dumb, she's like, hey Donald, don't say mean things about me unless you're going to say all the mean things. She's like, say that I didn't graduate high school. This is what happens to MAGA. You become a shell of yourself in service of Donald Trump and have to do so in the most humiliating ways possible. To the point where you have to think that these people, I don't know, in some way enjoy it. There could be no other explanation. How much power does Lauren Boebert have? I know she likes the attention and going on podcasts and Fox or Newsmax. I don't even know what Lauren Boebert goes on. And maybe she has fun in Congress, but she complains all the time. Who knows? Who knows at this point? But my God, what these people do, they love being humiliated. They are cowards. They are weak. It is sad. And for Boebert to have stood up to the president and then immediately cave, but again, it seems like at least on the Epstein files, that is one lane where Lauren Boebert will be oppositional. Because we do deserve to learn more. There is so much to know. Just take it from one of Ghislaine Maxwell's prison mates, a clip that I still think hasn't gotten nearly enough attention. We should be talking about this every day.
Another high-profile prisoner was Ghislaine Maxwell. Did you have any interactions with her?
I had interactions with her, limited interactions with her. I worked at Recreation, right? And so she would come in and work at Recreation, work out. But her experience there is very different from anyone else's, even Elizabeth and I. She is treated very differently there. And, I didn't have a lot of interaction with her. It was just on a very, she would come over and talk to us, or I would see her if she would, come by Recreation. But, and honestly, I chose that. I chose to have very limited interaction with her. She made it very publicly known, well, at least to, Elizabeth and I, that there's no remorse there. And again, I obviously don't know all the details of the case or whatever, but we know enough. It was a lot when the victims would be on TV and talking. She was just complete disregard for them, and this is when they are pouring their hearts out in front of Congress and for this files to be released and stuff. And so to see that kind of behavior when there are real victims that you're seeing and what they've gone through, and to be so dismissive of that just didn't sit with me the right.
Greater repercussions were brought against prisoners in Ghislaine Maxwell's prison who spoke out against the favorable treatment that she got. Those repercussions were greater against them than they have been against Ghislaine Maxwell for being a part of one of the biggest organized sex crime rings in the history of the world. That is the Epstein class at work, and it has to stop. And we are going to call it out, and hopefully Lauren Boebert will too. It seems promising, but I don't know. But we certainly will. And if you want to support that, as always, you can hit that subscribe button, leave a like on this video. If you stuck around to the end, drop a blue heart in the comments. Keep on fighting, y'all. Don't let them silence you. And until next time, I'll see you soon.